What's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Genesis format Exosister deck profile. So I'm really excited to do some for you guys because this deck is an extremely fun deck to play in Genesis format that has a deck cost of 96. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. So without further ado, let's go and get straight on into this. So first off, we're playing 3 copies of Exosister Martha. Martha is definitely a 3-of in the build because this card is actually the most powerful main deck Exosister monster in the entire build. With the ability, if you control no monsters or only XE monsters, you can special summon this card in the hand, and if you do, special summon a copy of Exosisters Genesys directly from your deck. But you cannot special summon monsters to turn you activate this effect except for Exosister monsters, which is totally fine. This card also has an amazing effect that if a card moves out of either player's graveyard, you can actually special summon from your X deck an Exosister XE monster using this face-up card you control as a material, treating it as an XZ summon. This card is amazing to be able to basically get 2 monsters out on your side of the field, so you can start going in for your XZ plays. We then play 3 copies of Exosister Elise. Elise is definitely a 3-of in the build and helps out a lot in this deck to be able to play alongside your copy of Martha with the ability, if you control an Exosister monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. Then, if you control an Exosister Stella, you get to gain 800 life points. And the rest of your Exosister monsters actually share an amazing common effect, and if your opponent moves a card out of either player's graveyard, you can actually special summon from your X deck an Exosister XE monster using this face-up card you control as a material, treating it as an XZ summon. We then play a single copy of Exosister Stella. Stella is great as a 1-of in the build, but I feel like 1 copy is really all you need, as this card has the ability that during your main phase, you can special summon an Exosister monster directly from your hand, and if you control a copy of Elise, you get to gain 800 life points. We make a single copy of Sophia. Sophia is awesome in the deck as a 1-of to help you draw cards, because if you control another Exosister monster, you get to draw a card, and if you control a copy of Irene, you get to gain 800 life points. Then we make a single copy of Irene. Irene is great to play along with your copy of Sophia, so you can basically just summon them out using your copy of Vadis, and this card also has the ability you can place an Exosister card from your hand on the bottom of the deck to draw a card, and if you control a copy of Sophia, you gain 800 life points. We then made 3 copies of Sayori Hime. Sayori Hime is an amazing 3-of in the build that's an extender, but also the Stratos of the deck, which is so cool. With this card having an insane ability, if you control a monster with 800 attack or defense, and this card's in your hand, immediately as effect results, you can actually normal summon this card. And if this card is normal summon, you can actually add a level 4 light or dark monster with 800 attack or defense points from your deck to your hand, except another copy of Sayori Hime, which is going to be able to search out any of our Exosister monsters because they all have 800 defense points, which is insane about this card. This card is so good in the build. We then play 3 copies of Sakitama. Sakitama is really good as a 3-of in the deck to basically just use this card as an extender, as you can actually reveal this card in your hand to be able to normal summon a spirit monster from your hand to your side of the field, instantly normal summoning this card to your side of the field to give you an additional monster to go in for your XZ plays. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is an amazing 3-of in the build to basically just stop the opponent from touching the deck, and this card is actually our very first point card, sitting at 15 points apiece. But this card is so worth it to basically just again stop your opponent from touching the deck. We then play 3 copies of Dimensional Shifter. Shifter is crazy powerful, and it's insane that we can actually play 3 of it in Genesis format, because this card is also a point card sitting at 10 points apiece, which is insane. When this card instantly wins you games with the effect, then if you have no cards in your graveyard, quick effect, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard, and until the end of the next turn, any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead, which can instantly win you games depending on what your matchup is. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get in to the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Carpe Diem. This card is great as a one-of in the build, but I feel like one copy is really all you need, as it makes so neither player can target Exosister monsters you control with the effects of monsters that were special summoned from the graveyard, and also if you XZ summon an Exosister monster, you can declare one card name and negate the activated effects of cards on the field of cards with the original name until the end of this turn, and when an attack is declared involving your Exosister monster, you can target a spell or trap your opponent controls and destroy it. We then play 2 copies of Cosmic Cyclone. Cosmic Cyclone is great in this build as well, to basically just use this card to basically just deal with your opponent's back row by paying 1,000 life points to target a spell or trap on the field and banish it, which is such a powerful effect. We then play 3 copies of Ultimate Slayer. Ultimate Slayer is great in this build to help you just spot remove your opponent's monsters, as this card lets you activate the effect that your opponent cannot activate monster effects in response to this card's activation. You can send a monster from your X deck to the graveyard and target a monster your opponent controls with the same card type that's a Fusion, Synchro, or XZ, and shuffle it into the deck, instantly spot removing one of your opponent's monsters, which is so cool. And we get some really cool bonus effects depending on what we send from our X deck to the graveyard based on the type, which is awesome. We then play 3 copies of Exosister Pax. Pax is great as a 3-of in the build to basically just use this card as a rota for the deck, letting you add the exact Exosister card you need from your deck to your hand. We then play 3 copies of 7th Tachyon. 7th Tachyon is basically 3 more copies of Rhoda to instantly get you to the exact card that you need, and it's absolutely crazy how powerful this card is. So, that's it for these spells, guys. Let's get in to the traps. So for the traps, we're going to start with a single copy of Vadis. Vadis is great as a 1-of in the build and it lets you pay 800 life points, choose an Exosister monster in the deck, and then take one other Exosister monster in the deck that is mentioned on that monster and special summon both, but you shuffle them into the deck during the end phase. Also, for the rest turn out this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters from the X deck except for Exosister monsters, but it's awesome to instantly bring out 2 Exosister monsters to your side of the field. We then play 2 copies of Returnia. Returnia is great in this build and helps out a lot in this deck to basically just use this card to spot remove cards off the field. As if all monsters you control are Exosister monsters minimum 1, you pay 800 life points to target a card that your opponent controls or in their graveyard and banish it. Then you can apply one of the following effects. So immediately this effect resolves, XZ summon an Exosister XZ monster using monsters you control, or if you XZ summon this turn already, you to banish a card your opponent controls non-targeting. We then also play 3 copies of Solemn Judgment. Solemn Judgment is crazy powerful in this build to basically just stop your opponent's cards that are basically going to spot remove your Exosister monsters off the field. And this card is also a point card sitting at 7 points apiece, which is well worth it in this deck, depending on if you're going to go first to basically use this card to stop your opponent in their tracks and basically say no to anything. This card is really good in the build and just such a powerful card in this deck, and just a really good option to basically use to protect your Exosister monsters. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get in to the extra deck. So for the extra deck, guys, we're going to start with 2 copies of Exosister Magnifica. Magnifica is definitely a 2-of in the build and such a powerful card to be able to play, as this card requires 2 rank 4 Exosister XZ monsters to make this card. They can make a second attack during each battle phase, and once per turn, quick effect, you can detach from 2 on this card to banish a card your opponent controls non-targeting. Also, when your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, you can turn XZ monster you own, attach this card to your X deck, and then you can special summon that monster from your X deck using this card you control as a material, which is such a powerful ability. We then play 3 copies of Exosister Makalis. McCullough is great as a 3-of in the build and such a powerful card to be able to summon, because this card has the ability it cannot be destroyed by battle with a monster special summoned from the graveyard. And if you control this card that was Exy summoned this turn by using an Exosister Monsters material, quick effects, you can target one card your opponent controls or in their graveyard and banish it. And also detach material in this card to add an Exosister spell or trap from your deck to your hand. We then play 2 copies of Caspatel. Caspatel is great in this deck as a 2-of and helps out so much in this build, as this card helps us search out our Exosister monsters by detaching a material, which is such a cool effect. We then play a single copy of a Sophiel. The Sophiel is great in this build and very similar to an Abyss Dweller, but the ability in this card is Exy summon using an Exosister monster as a material. Neither player can activate the effects of cards in the graveyard this turn. And so detach a material in this card and then target a monster that your opponent controls and return it back to the hand. We then play a single copy of Jabreen. This card is really good as a 1-of in the build because this card gives your monsters a little bit of a boost, with an awesome ability that in this card you control was Exy summoned this turn by using an Exosister monster as a material. Quick effect, you can actually target an effect monster that your opponent controls and negate its effects until the end of this turn. And so detach a material from this card, and for the rest turn, all Exy monsters you control gain 800 attack points, making your monsters absolutely massive. Make a single copy of Evil Sworn Exciton Knight. Exciton Knight is great in this build to use to basically just board wipe the field, just in case you need to, and it's an awesome 1-of in the build. Make a single copy of number 104 Masquerade. This card helps out a lot in the deck to basically just use this card with your copy of 7 Tachyon to be able to search out the exact monster that you need. Make a single copy of F-Zero, Utopic Future Zaxel. This card gets absolutely massive on your side of the field and just a really good option overall to be able to summon in this deck, as this card just requires 2 Exy monsters with the same rank, and this card gains attack events equal to the combined ranks of all Exy monsters that you control and in your opponent's graveyard times 500, which is such a powerful effect to make this card massive and help you go in for game. We then play for our Ultimate Slayer targets a single copy of Aggregator to be able to basically out Exy monsters and also be able to negate a card on the field when it touches the graveyard. A single copy of Golden Cloud Beast, which is great for synchro monsters and has a really cool ability to target a face-up card that your opponent controls and return it back to the hand when this card touches the graveyard. And a single copy of Garua. Garua is great in the deck because this card helps you out fusion monsters with Ultimate Slayer, and this card, when it touches the graveyard, lets you draw a card. So, that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. This deck is so much fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played an Exosister deck before, especially in Genesis format, you should definitely give this deck a try, because it's so much fun to be able to play, and it's insane how powerful it is to make your awesome Exy plays and go in for game. So, that's good for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.